maybe there is an important distinction between peak performances and flow. If you're gonna see flow that way, I see peak experiences as not about high performance. I see peak performance as not necessarily the same thing as peak experience. Although
totally, different things.
Yeah. And if that's the case,
they can overlap.
They can overlap. They can, but they don't necessarily overlap. That's a great point. Great point, Reid. So I think that there might be value then in not treating peak experiences synonymous with flow experiences, because a lot of the kinds of experiences Maslow was describing I don't think they'd be things that we would naturally think of as high performance things. Like childbirth. Do you see childbirth as high performance? I guess it is in a way,
Well, from a survival of the species perspective, is there a moment that matters more? I mean, if you're talking about real peak performance, right? Like, I don't know. This metaphor goes in places that I don't want. It's funny in a bunch of different ways, and I'm not meaning it that way. But from an evolutionary perspective, you're raising a very interesting question. I don't have the answer, but it's an interesting question.
It's an interesting question. I think of that one because that's a very common peak experience for women.
It is.
But watching a sunset, when you're enjoying a quiet time with a friend and you really feel like you're one with the friend, is that high performance? Like I don't think that makes sense in that kind of situation.
So let me. By the way, high performance is a tricky term here, I guess.
Please define it for us. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I can define it, first of all, but the point I was going to make is some of the skills that we know are amplified during flow, cooperation, collaboration, empathy, right? These are not normally like peak skills, but if you and I are sitting and having interpersonal flow, we're lost in a deep conversation, like heightened collaboration, cooperation, pattern recognition, all the stuff that you get in flow, we're going to have more connection. It's going to be a deeper conversation. And I would call that peak performance because first of all, fundamental human needs are we have social needs, so like from a performance benefit, if I can have a 10-minute conversation with you in flow and bond with you really, really tightly, it's saving me from having hours and hours of a conversation to try to find the same thing elsewhere. So there's a productivity aspect to this interpersonal idea, even though you and I wouldn't think about it that way, but you could reframe it that way.
If what you've heard on Flow Research Collective Radio has been helpful, please consider doing us a solid and leaving us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening to this. Reviews help us connect to a wider audience so we can get these peak performance principles out to more people.